Hi, I welcome you to this section. In this section, we'll be looking at the human eyes. I'm Eza Araronyeka. By way of introduction, in this section, we'll be looking at the parts of the eyes, their functions, such as the muscles of the eye, orbicularis oculi muscle, the orbital septum, the lateral gland, lacrimal gland, inferior tarsus, superior tarsus, aqueous humerus, vitreous humerus, and many of them, and their functions in the human eye. Now, the standard length of the eye, that is the measurements of the eye. The anterior posterior length, that is when you measure the eye from the front to the back part of the eye, measures around 24 millimeter. And the inferior superior length measures around 23 millimeter. That is when you measure from the floor of the eye to the upper part, measures around 23 millimeter. But it is worthy of note to know that these measurements varies based on age, ethnicity, and genetic variation or genetic trait of a person. You can agree with me on that. The shape of an infant's eye is different from that of a matured adult. So these are exclusive example of the variation. But however, this is the standard measurements found in a matured adult, and it is used for reference purposes. Now let's look at the structures of the eye. Now, the first structure we'll be looking at is the inferior tarsus. We're going to be looking at the inferior tarsus. Inferior tarsus is a plate of dense, look at the inferior tarsus here, this lower one, and the upper one is the superior tarsus. So we're looking at the inferior tarsus first. The inferior tarsus is a plate of dense connective tissue located in the lower eyelid. And the major function is to provide structural support to the eyelid, helping the eyelid to maintain the shape it has. It also serves as an attachment point for the eyelid muscles, including the orbicularis oculi muscles, as we're going to see. That is the main function of the tarsus, both the upper and the lower tarsus. Now, the upper tarsus, also known as superior tarsus, has a similar structure. Okay, it has a similar structure. It has a similar structure like the inferior tarsus. It is made up of dense connective tissue located in the upper eyelid, and it provides structural support and also provide an attachment for muscles such as the levator palpebrae. But for that of the inferior, it provides attachment for the orbicularis muscles, whereas the superior provides attachment for the palpebrae superioris muscle. The next we'll be looking at is the lateral palpebrae ligament. Now, the lateral palpebrae ligament, that is this structure here, provides an attachment for the tarsus to be attached to the skull in the orbit or the orbital. This with the help. It is with the help of this lateral palpebrae ligament that the tarsus is attached to the orbit. The next we'll be discussing is the orbital septum. Orbital septum. The orbital septum is also an important structure that needs to be understood. The orbital septum is a fibrous muscle that extends from the periosteum of the skull bone to the eyelid. That is, from here to here. The orbital septum performs the following function. First, it provides structural support to the eyelids and help maintain their position. It also acts as a barrier, preventing the spread of infection from the eyelids to the deeper structures of the orbit and the eye. It has a protection function from so disease that affect the eyelids cannot cross and enter these deeper orbital structures. It also performs the function of separating the content of the orbit from the soft tissues of the eyelid. The eyelid had a lot of soft tissues, so it prevents these softer tissues from having direct contact with hard structures in this part of the orbit. So that is the main function of the orbital septum. The next is the lacrimal gland. The lacrimal gland. The lacrimal gland is known as the tear gland. It is the gland that secretes the tears. It has several functions. The first function is it secretes aqueous tears that lubricate and maintain the surface of the eye, which provides comfort and prevents dryness of the eye. Another function of the lacrimal gland is antimicrobial action. The tears contained in the lacrimal gland contains a lysosome and antibodies. These lysosome and antibodies help protect the eye from infection. Another function of the lacrimal gland is emotional response. When you beat a woman or when a woman has a strong emotional reaction, you see her tears coming out. So this is the functions of the lacrimal gland. The next we'll be looking at is the lacrimal sac. The lacrimal sac is a storage structure for tears located at the medial canthus. This is the medial canthus. This is known as the medial canthus of the eye. And the major function is to store the tears. It collects or drains tears from the punctata via the canaliculi. That's the main function of the lacrimal sac. However, it also drains tears from the lacrimal sac into the nasolacrimal duct, which then drains into the nasal cavity. This is the nasal cavity. So that is the function of the lacrimal sac. The next is the cornea. The cornea is the color part of the eye, as you can see. The cornea is transparent and is dumbbell shaped. It's dumbbell shaped front surface of the eye. That is the transparent part of the eye, there where the women add contact lens. What is the main function of the cornea? Its primary function is refracting the light. The cornea does light refraction by bending and focusing light that enters the eye. It does light refraction. Another function is protection. The cornea acts as a barrier against dirt, germs, and other particles from entering inside the eye. So as such, it's one of the first line defense of the eye. So it prevents dirt and other structures from entering inside part of the eye. So the two most important function it does is light refraction, that is bending light rays to focus on the retina. Secondly, it protects the inner part of the eye from infections, deaths, and all of that. Then it also has high sensitivity because it is rich with lots of nerve endings. This part has a lot of nerve endings, making it highly sensitive to touch and other stimuli, which helps in protecting the eye. So that is why if you want to touch the eye, you see the person immediately what blink, because the cornea, or even if it's just a little ant that enters the eye, the surface of the eye, you see your eye gets irritated and you become uncomfortable. It's because of the rich nerve endings in the eye. So that is the cornea. Now let's look at the sclera. The sclera is continuous. It's continuous from the cornea. They are the same structure, just that this place is transparent. The sclera, also known as the white part of the eyes, is the tough outer covering or coating that protects the eyeball and helps maintain the shape of the eye. So the major function is protection. The sclera protects the internal structures of the eye from injury, similar to what the cornea does. It also provides structural support. The sclera provides structural support for the eye, enabling the eye to maintain its shape and resist intraocular pressure. It helps maintain the shape and resist the intraocular pressure, the pressure that builds up inside the eye. It also provides attachment for muscles. That's muscles we call extraocular muscles. That is the muscles that holds the eye and enables you to move your eye left, right, upward, downward. We will take in a section on that, on the muscles of the eye, the muscles that control the eye movement: lateral, medial, upward, downward, sideways. There are muscles that move the eye. So it is the sclera that provides attachment for these muscles. Why is this the cornea? Now let's look at the pupil. Let's look at the main function of pupil. The pupil is the opening. The pupil is the opening in the center of the iris. This is the iris. This is known as the iris. Whereas this opening here is known as the pupil. What is the main function? Light regulation. The pupil changes the size. That is, can increase or decrease its size. Like this, can increase more or reduce smaller. As such, it regulates the amount of light entering the eye. A larger pupil allows more light into the eye for better vision. That is, when someone is in the dark room. Whereas when you are exposed to the outside light, the pupil reduces its size to reduce the amount of exposure to bright light. So it does what is known as light regulation. Also, the size of the pupil affects the depth of field in visual perception. So it allows for better focusing of objects at varying distance. So if it gets dilated, you see wider. But it gets narrowed, you see lesser. The next is the iris. Look at the iris and look at the pupil. Now, the iris is the colored part of the eye. That is, this you are seeing, this colored part. That, I mean, some people it can be blue, in some people it can be black. This is called the iris. Whereas this center opening is the pupil. But you're able to see this color because the cornea is what? Transparent. The cornea is transparent. So the iris surrounds the pupil, and its main function is also regulate light entry. It controls